Good afternoon, everyone. It's a few seconds after noon, and welcome to the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina's Onward as One Roundtable webinar. We're going to give a few more moments for a few late arrivers to go ahead and jump on and get situated, and we'll go ahead and get started with the program. So bear with us just a few more seconds. We'll let a few additional folks jump on before we start. Thank you. Okay, looks like we did have a few additional folks slide in there right at the tail end there. So again, welcome. This is the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina's Onward as One Virtual Recovery Roundtable webinar. My name is Christopher Chung. I have the privilege of serving as the CEO of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, or EDPNC, as you'll hear it. We're going to be focusing our conversation today around various business recovery resources and some good case studies of business resiliency in the South Central region of North Carolina, also known to many as the Sandhills region. So we appreciate each of you taking time out of your Thursday to go ahead and join us. Over the next 45 or 50 minutes or so, like I said, you're going to hear a lot of really good information about resources and services that the EDPNC and our partners can offer to existing employers in the region. You're also, like I said, going to hear from a couple of great companies that are in the Sandhills or South Central region and have really adapted to this new environment we're in. Either way, you're going to hopefully get a lot of very valuable insights. Our team will continue to be posting to social media during this next 50 minutes or so under the hashtag Onward as One. You see it here on the screen in front of you. If there's information that you would like to share with your networks, by all means, we encourage and welcome you to do that. Just go ahead and tag it with that same hashtag Onward as One. And again, that's a great way for you to share content with those folks who were unable to participate live in today's webinar. I'm going to turn it over here in one moment to Gary Lanier with the Columbus County Economic Development Commission. Gary's one of our great partners in the South Central region and has graciously agreed to help co-host today's conversation. Before I turn things over to Gary, I'd like to show you all a 60-minute spot. It's something that's running on air right now throughout North Carolina, part of this broader Onward as One initiative to help existing businesses understand ways that the EDPNC can be of service to them. So if you could, let's go ahead and roll that 60-second spot, and then we'll turn things over to Gary Lanier from Columbus County. Thank you. One second here. We're just going to go ahead and switch over here platforms and get it fired up here in a second.
Good morning, North Carolina. It's a new day. Across the state, we're opening up doors, setting up shops, and bringing in first shifts. We're putting in the work to forge ahead. And with the help of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, we move onward as one, making connections, sparking collaboration, providing guidance. North Carolina businesses aren't just enduring, but achieving. From major cities to small towns, the future is just getting started. Our sheer will to build a thriving state has always been and always will be what keeps us ahead. And we're building the North Carolina of tomorrow today. North Carolina businesses like yours can reach their full potential with EDPNC's COVID recovery resources, grant and loan expertise, startup counseling, export assistance, and workforce development. North Carolina, let's move onward as one. See you in the morning.
Yes, this is Gary Lanier, and I'm happy to welcome each and every one of you as you join us today. Especially appreciate us being joined by Christopher Chung and the Economic Development Partnership team and their willingness to provide a number of new perspectives on COVID-19 recovery. Today, we'll hear stories of resilience from the businesses within our region. We'll discuss economic challenges and opportunities as we look to recover from the pandemic. And we'll also explore some valuable counsel and services that EDPNC provides to help businesses, both big and small, to get through the recovery period and to move forward into the future. We have an excellent list of panelists that are joining us today, and I appreciate their participation. Of course, we have Christopher Chung, who is the CEO of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, or as we like to shorten it, EDPNC. We have Cameron Counsel, who is the Vice President of Administration and Secretary of the Board for Counsel Tool, which is the oldest continuously operating company, manufacturing company in Columbus County. I've been in business for, I think, what is it, Cameron, 132 years now, I think.
We're going on 135.
135, so I'm behind. That's what happens when you get old. MOHIT BAHL is the Associate Principal of eClerks. John LOYACK is the Vice President of Global Business Services at EDPNC. And then my partner in crime here is PHILLIP SHUMAKER, who is the existing Industry Expansions Manager for the South Central region. And I even brought a visual aid. You need to write this number down. This is Philip's number. This is the number that his wife calls him at to remind him that it's his mom's birthday. You can find him at this number anytime. So with that, I'll kick off our panel discussion and allow each panelist to give a brief, perspective of their organization and what they are doing or seeing in light of the pandemic. So Chris, I'm going to start with you. Tell us what's going on and how EDPNC is weathering and getting through this storm.
Sounds great. Thank you, Gary. And again, appreciate you helping to host this conversation for the Sandhills region. EDPNC, for those that have not, we've not had the privilege of interacting with, we've got a pretty diverse mission when you talk about economic development across the state. Most people know us in terms of our work trying to recruit companies in from outside of North Carolina, but really that is just one part of the overall economic development mission that we're entrusted with. We're also charged with things like promoting the state for leisure travel and tourism, as well as helping a lot of small and medium-sized manufacturers to find new global markets for their products through international trade. But of course, today's focus is really on ways that we can serve the existing companies that are already here in North Carolina. What we've seen, of course, varies as differently as those functions that we have within EDPNC. So whereas in areas like business recruitment, we've actually seen a pretty good degree of success in continuing to attract new employers to set up operations in our state, in rural and urban areas, and everything in between, even in this crazy environment that 2020 has been. Tourism, on the other hand, as many of you know, folks are just not traveling as much right now, either for leisure or for business. And that's certainly having a detrimental effect on a lot of the small businesses who make up North Carolina's tourism economy. Remember, we historically are the 6th most visited state in the US, a large part due to the mountains, the coasts, the golf courses, all the stuff that makes up our natural environment and man-made environment. But tourism is down right now, so we're seeing definitely the hits of COVID there. When it comes to existing businesses, though, really our audience for today's webinar, I think what we've seen is what we're going to hear about from both Cameron and MOHIT, which are stories of how their companies have adapted, maybe even thrived, and certainly been resilient in these unprecedented 9 months that we've all been living through together. And that's really what we want to highlight, is the way that those companies have been getting through this, the way that EDPNC has hopefully helped those companies get through these very challenging situations. We never want to take for granted that every company is doing just fine, because we know, based on the conversations we have, that is certainly not the case everywhere you go in North Carolina, especially during this pandemic. So really a lot of today's webinar is to focus on those companies who might welcome some assistance as they continue to navigate this new normal. So again, really appreciate you chairing this conversation, Gary, and looking forward to the chance to share some ways that we can partner with existing businesses across the state.
Thank you, Chris. John, you want to add to some of what Chris has shared with us?
I'd be happy to, Gary. And thank you again for joining us today and keeping this discussion going. It's an important one. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to second what Chris said about Philip Shoemaker and his work here in the region. The one thing I always hear from people after they meet Philip is that they wish they had known him sooner. So if you don't know him yet, today's a great opportunity for that, but I definitely recommend that you do get to know him, because you'll be amazed at the type of resources that can be provided to help your organizations weather these challenges. For us and the folks across the state who are supporting the existing industry, every day brings a different challenge to our team and your businesses, of course. Philip is your link to countless business services and resources needed to navigate, whether it's during good times or bad. He advises businesses both large and small, covers all industries, and the best part is these services that we provide to businesses across the state are provided at no cost. So whether it's dealing with challenges related to COVID, if you're looking to expand in the region, if you're looking to set up new export markets, we're here to help, and Philip is the perfect point of contact for you in the region. With that, I'd love to turn things over to Philip so that he can introduce himself as well. Philip?
Hey, thank you, John. Thanks, eClerks, Council Tool, and Gary for being here today. As John mentioned, my name is Philip Shoemaker. I cover the South Central Prosperity Zone. We typically refer to this as the Sand Hills. And within that region, there are 10 different counties. I cover Montgomery, Moore, Richmond, Scotland, Cumberland, Columbus, Robson, Sampson, Hoke, and Bladen counties. So typically on any given day, I'm on the road, and within a normal year, I'm on the road visiting different companies and manufacturers within the region to find out what some of their pain points are. Really appreciate everybody putting this together and being here today, and I look forward to working with the companies as a result of this.
Thank you, Philip. And please, if you have any needs, don't hesitate to call Philip. He used to serve our country in the United States Air Force, and now he's serving the citizens of North Carolina in our area and doing a great job in both cases. Let's move over to another one of our panelists. Cameron, could you give us take a few minutes and give us an overview of what's been going on with Council Tool and how you have had to navigate the COVID crisis?
Yeah, Gary, thank you. Sure thing. So as Gary mentioned a few minutes ago, Council Tool Company, we're an old company. The end of the year will be our 135th year in business. Been around since 1886, and we're a tool manufacturer. So largely what we're doing is buying raw steel and we're forging it in a drop hammer or in a press and making a tool, making hammers, axes, various digging bars, tools for fire or SWAT or EMS or military applications. So the biggest thing for us is we have around 50 employees, give or take. About 90% of those employees are out in our manufacturing facility. And a lot of our employees, I say a lot, most of our employees are working close to each other, typically, not side by side, but within 6 feet of each other. And the first, when COVID started happening and started kind of coming in, the biggest challenge we had was, are we keeping our employees safe? Are we doing the right thing? You know, our facility's loud. And so naturally, if you can't hear somebody, you lean in so you can hear them. And we had to tell people, you know, you can't do that anymore. And, you know, we're creatures of habit, and habits are almost impossible to break sometimes. So that was the first challenge, getting everyone gloves and face masks, making sure we had a hand sanitizer available. That was the biggest challenge at the beginning. The supply chain, getting steel and handles and various other materials in the beginning, things started to slow down from our suppliers. What was a 3 to 4 week lead time has started to become 8 to 10 weeks, kind of in a matter of weeks. And that was that's hard to work around sometimes. And so we had 2 suppliers specifically I can think of that did have some COVID outbreaks out of state that shut down. And that was pretty hard for us to kind of work through. Other state shutdowns was also big for us in the beginning. Several customers in California, New York, New Jersey, Michigan, Ohio, all these hard hit states with COVID that had some pretty stringent shutdowns. Our customers had to shut down for 2 to 3, 4 weeks. We couldn't ship them product. And, you know, when you work around a production schedule, you plan to ship this product and all of a sudden you find out you can't, you know, that doesn't help anybody. So those 3 things I just mentioned were the biggest challenges we faced. And sometimes we still face today. You know, COVID's obviously not over. We're getting through it and we're better now than we were 7, 8 months ago. But those were the 3 biggest challenges we faced.
Thank you, Cameron. MOHIT, how about your company? How has eClerx handled the COVID situation? I know each company has a different take on things and is affected differently. So how have y'all gotten through this?
Thank you, Gary. Yes, so you're right, Gary. I think our experience and our challenges have been considerably different, you know, from what Cameron just spoke about. So a little bit about eClerx. eClerx, we're basically a technology consulting and analytics organization. We've been in existence for about 20 years, so, you know, fairly young from that perspective. We have operations in Asia, Europe, and United States. So Fayetteville, North Carolina is basically our first delivery center that you know, we have in the United States. Now, generally what we do is we provide technical solutions and analytics, you know, and these kind of services to our clients. But we realized over a period of time that most of these solutions that we were developing for our clients eventually ended up in the customer service side of things. So, you know, they were eventually being used to service end customers. And we realized that call centers were a good offering for our clients to give them end-to-end solutions. So, you know, don't only give them consulting, but then, you know, implement it for them, execute it for them. And I think that went well with our client base. That's how we got into the call center world. And we've been around here in Fayetteville for about 3 years. Now our challenges were, you know, so call centers are typically people intensive, you know, high volume, high traffic kind of, you know, places. So to give you an example, you know, we employ about 330 people at this point in time. When COVID hit, or, you know, when the stay-at-home orders and all these situations started happening about 9 months back, we had about 200 people that were working from the office. Now, because we deal with a lot of, you know, personal information, you know, we have, or our employees have access to a lot of personal, you know, information of our end customers. We've always been a brick and mortar or a work at office organization. We've not had a lot of, for information security reasons, not had a lot of work at home kind of opportunities. When this happened, we literally not, you know, tested work at home at all, ever. Most of our people, all of our people, in fact, worked off of desktop computers. They had their own workstations. They worked off desktop computers, which they could not immediately take home. So when this happened, our first challenge was to, from a business continuity perspective, keep our employees safe and still continue to run the business. A lot of our clients, with some of our other, you know, competition, they virtually shut down. Now, we had a second bigger problem, which was we were able to deploy people at a very short notice. We found, I think, about 500 laptops over, you know, 2 days, deployed everybody that we had, sent them home, got them connectivity, got them set up. But a lot of people could not work because schools were shut down. Single parents, you know, they could not do anything. So, you know, they had the infrastructure, but they could not do anything. Now, at the same time, because we support telecom, internet, you know, that's what we generally support. The 3 clients we work off from Fayetteville, they're all technology, internet, telecom companies. So all their customers were at home, expecting the best service, expecting everything going smoothly. And at the same time, we did not have enough people to service them because people could not work for several different reasons. So I think that became a bit of a challenge for us when we, you know, when COVID really made its full impact to us. I think since then, you know, and we obviously lost a lot of people. A lot of people could not continue working for several different reasons. But I think over the 9 months, it's been a success story for us as opposed to it becoming a disaster, it actually turned out to be a success story. We've actually been able to acquire more clients over this period, primarily driven by the fact that we were not only able to deploy people at home, but I think for a lot of different good reasons, which I think Philip and his team are a big part of, we were actually able to continue to keep hiring people and keep training them through this period, which is something which our clients could not find in a lot of other places, and they actually moved over a lot of their business to us that their other partners were not able to fulfill in different geographic locations.
Thank you, Mohit. That's, fits in well with what we've seen from an economic development standpoint in the Southeast region. Is you would think this would be a time where, and I know it's been a bad time if you're in the restaurant industry or tourism, but it's probably been, we've seen more projects, active projects in the Southeast recently than I probably have seen in the 10 years I've been working in this office. We're juggling so many projects and so much potential growth and job growth that it makes you wonder, we don't want another outbreak, but we've certainly seen things move in a positive direction when it comes to job creation, which echoes right along with what you've seen there. And we want to see that keep rolling. We still have a pretty heavy textile presence in Columbus County, and one of our manufacturers is Whiteville Fabrics. They have had to increase output on a type of material that could be used for surgical gowns, for personal protective equipment, and they're shipping out an additional 3 million yards a month now. We had trouble locally getting PPE, the gowns for our first responders. So we actually initiated a project out of our economic development office to make our own. We got Whiteville Fabrics to literally provide us with obsolete Toyota silica car seat material. We sent it to our local prison who had a laser cutting operation, cut it into patterns. They didn't have time to sew it for us, but then we had volunteers throughout the Southeast region from Brunswick County, New Hanover County, Bladen County, you name it, sewing these protective gowns together so that we could have them sanitized at the local hospital and distributed out to our first responders. So we all seem to work together in the Southeast and the South Central region to make it happen. And we work, that's, I think, one of the things that makes us get through these kinds of situations is just working together. So let's move on to question number 2. And again, this one's for Chris Chung again. How can the South Central North Carolina and state, the region and the state, position themselves for future growth in light of this pandemic that we're dealing with? And what are the top challenges and opportunities that you see for both our region and the state as a whole?
Sure. And first off, I love that story that you just told about the residents and the community coming together to solve the PPE shortage for our first, frontline healthcare responders. I mean, we're very lucky to get to do the work that we do in economic development because we get to interact with a lot of creative, innovative companies that have demonstrated a lot of resiliency. But the story you just told, that's at a very personal, individual level too, and just seeing how North Carolinians and really no doubt Americans in general trying to adapt to this creatively. I think that's just always uplifting to hear that. In terms of opportunities, challenges, the region, like I said, this is our 4th roundtable now. We're going around the different regions of the state, and I think it's just another reminder of how truly diverse North Carolina is, not just demographically, but economically. You look at the different regions of this state and what makes their economies hum looks really different depending on which corner of the state you're in. I think when we think about the Sandhills region or South Central region, And I think really to some extent, the companies that we interact with, be it on the recruitment or expansion side, it's a very solid manufacturing type location. So I think that's definitely one of the opportunities, continues to be one of the opportunities for this area, is to grow its existing manufacturing through companies like Counsel Tool, but also, of course, hopefully to attract some new manufacturing into the area. Now, one of the challenges that comes with that, of course, is the kinds of companies that are looking at the South Central Sandhills region. Pretty much you can guarantee they're probably also looking across the state line right there down in South Carolina. And, you know, South Carolina is a very formidable competitor for what we do in economic development. So that's always going to be something we have to be mindful of. And a lot of that sometimes has to do, of course, with issues like workforce and real estate availability. It also has to do with incentives. Again, whether we're talking about helping an existing company expand or luring a new company to the region, if we know South Carolina is always in that conversation, we want to make sure that we don't allow ourselves to be so far out of the ballpark with our neighbor to the south that it makes it easy for a company to decide that they're going to go south of the border. So, you know, I look at some of the other sectors. Food and beverage is one of those really strong sectors right now. People are dining out less, so they're preparing more meals at home. That's leading to a much greater consumption of consumer packaged goods for the food and beverage sector. Because the South Central region has such a strong agricultural and agribusiness history. Again, we're just coming off of Thanksgiving, right? So the region essentially produces all the turkeys and sweet potatoes that we all eat every Turkey Day. I mean, that sort of thing, I think there's tremendous potential to keep growing that sector and, of course, building on it in that region of the state. Defense, you know, Fayetteville being home to Fort Bragg, one of the largest military bases in the whole world. The defense industry and what that represents. North Carolina Military Business Center. It's one of those great assets that's available to everywhere in North Carolina, but it's actually based in Fayetteville. This is a group, a partner of ours that helps companies that are interested in doing business with the Department of Defense and with the military. And so for existing companies that are thinking, hey, I'd like to sell to the Military Business Center is a great resource that we often bring into that conversation, and they do a great job. Small business development, you know, Pembroke, UNC Pembroke has that incubator in downtown. Again, that's another great way, great opportunity to capitalize on what we know is a strong entrepreneurial mindset in all corners of North Carolina, including this region. And then you've got some niche industries, you know, whether it's companies like MOHIT with e-clerks in Fayetteville, or companies like Radix Bay, of course, there in Tabor City. This kind of concept of rural technology delivery, rural service delivery, you know, outside of those major markets, you still have people who have the skills who can do the type of work that e-clerks or Radix Bay needs. And so that's going to be great. Up in Moore County, up in Pinehurst, you've got this golf cluster that they're trying to build there. And of course, that's going to be anchored by the USGA's new testing center and partial headquarters. I mean, again, some great niche opportunities for the region to keep building on. And a lot of that's going to be driven by the companies that are already there in South Central North Carolina.
Chris, you're so right. And, you know, I grew up hearing that competition makes you better, makes you stronger. I used to jokingly tell people that Nikki Haley, I used to call her the leprechaun. And people would say, why? And I'd say, because she just pulls a pot of gold out from under her desk and puts it on the desk and says, what do you need? But that, you know, is the kind of competition that it takes for you to get better. And I think our current rankings as a state, with the outstanding job that EDPNC has been doing, both with recruiting new business and industry, but especially in supporting and helping our existing industry grow, that helps to set us apart from competitors like South Carolina. And but I just wanted to, I'm gonna put a plug in because you guys are getting it done for this state. But moving on to another question, Cameron, can you tell us some of the ways you work with EDPNC to navigate business challenges presented by the pandemic, and why should another business connect with EDPNC and folks like Phillip or John or Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. So Phillip and the EDPNC were a huge asset to us back during the shutdowns, the essential business or the non-essential business designations. And naturally, no one knew what was going on, and especially us. And PHILLIP was a huge part of helping us get through that, kind of motor through that time. And we were able to, we deemed ourselves essential. We were deemed essential, I should say. We were able to keep going. We were able to keep people employed, keep paychecks going out, keep producing product, et cetera, et cetera. So that was huge. PHILLIP put us in touch with some of the people in Raleigh that we needed to reach out to. Access to capital and funding, through grants, assistance with like international trade shows that aren't cheap. Even when it comes to airfare, hotel, trade show booth, etc. The EDPNC has channels for funding through grants for those opportunities, and those are things that we being a small business seriously consider. Navigation with the PPP loan. The Congress passed that huge stimulus bill back in, what was it, April or something, and the PPP loan was available. And at first, we didn't really know about it. We didn't really know if it was for us, if we could apply for it. PHILLIP and I were talking a little bit, and it turns out, it was something we needed to do, and that's what we did. PHILLIP was huge for us during all these shutdowns and through the essential business designations, getting us in contact with different people that we didn't know or knew nothing of. So that has been big for us.
Thank you, Cameron. It sounds to me like PHILLIP's kind of a partner in the wings to help you when you need him. And one of the things I did want to ask you is, while we've been on this webinar, let's just say 100 fire trucks have been dispatched. How many have a council tool fire axe on board?
Every one of them.
I've heard it's well over 90%. So that's
we believe, if it answers your question, we believe that we are the last domestic manufacturer of fire axes in the United States.
Yeah, and they are definitely. I've been there. If I know you give a lot of tours of your facility, it is an amazing place.
Thank you.
MOHIT, let's talk. In your case, what kind of relationship have you had with the Economic Development Partnership, especially during the pandemic? How have you been assisted?
So Gary, I think talking about a relationship with the EDPNC, I think it goes a long way back. So this building that we operate from right now, that we took 3 years back, that was with the help of the EDPNC. They took us around the area, shortlisted places for us. So that's really when it started. The relationship was when we set foot in Fayetteville the first time. So and it's been going on since then. I think our biggest challenge that we had during the pandemic, and I'll echo Cameron's points on this one. So the essential, non-essential classification, I think that kind of helped us a great deal, because we were able to keep the business open. We were able to keep people employed. Even though we had to deploy them back at home, there were still reasons why we had to reach out to people, or people had to reach back to the office, to collect their laptops, to get infrastructure, get tools, get things done. If the laptop broke, they still had to come back and get it fixed, or things like that. Now, that facilitated the movement that allowed us to keep the office open, get people to come back in here and stay operational while all those things were happening. So I think that definitely helped a great deal. The other thing that we started noticing was we started seeing a lot of people drop out for several reasons. Like I said, schools shut down. Parents could not continue to work from home. So we started losing people really fast. And I think that's a point where PHILLIP and his team came in really handy. They helped us advertise all our open positions on all possible digital platforms that they could get us onto, whether it was their Facebook pages, websites, everything that they could do. So I think that really helped us build a strong pipeline of people. And there was a lot of people looking for opportunities for jobs, because restaurants had shut down. A lot of service industry, businesses in the service industry had shut down. So these were good, people rightly skilled for our jobs here. So I think that really helped us connect with the right kind of people, find the right kind of people, get them up, set them up for training, and get them going really quick. So that I think was the turning point in how everything worked. Now, going back to my earlier point, because we were able to continue to hire and train people, and because we were able to, make sure that we were able to supply them the tools that they needed, our clients, we were a big support. So I'll give you an example of one of our largest clients. They have a large presence of their customer service delivery teams in the Philippines and in India and a lot of other places. Now, most of these countries, they shut down at a notice of hours. And when they shut down, they were not even able to get people to, come and pick up computers or whatever. I think we actually stood out in that sense because we were able to continue to provide that service. Not only just that, we were able to hire and expand at that point in time and provide some part of those people that our clients had lost in other geographic locations. Our India team actually had to deploy about 8,000 people overnight to work from home. So overall, it was, across the company, we had a lot of these things happen. But I think specifically in Fayetteville, that recruitment help, being able to find the right kind of people. PHILLIP and his team kept us informed about all the possible grants, the programs that were available to our business. And, I want to answer your question with a lot of good words about PHILLIP, but I'm actually going to talk about a specific example that will tell you how, why businesses should connect with him. I remember back in July actually, seeing an email from PHILLIP, which originated from another call center, I think in one of his jurisdictions. People that, a company that was running short on headsets, and headsets is an extremely important tool that you need in the call center world. And there was this company that fell short on headsets because obviously they were not able to buy them out from the market. And PHILLIP and his team, they actually reached out to all the call centers in the area to find out if we could provide some headsets to help this company going. So I think that's the reason why you should connect with him. That's the reason, because if in times like these where you cannot find anything anywhere, if you're able to connect all these businesses to work together to sustain, during these times, I think that's what we really needed, and that's what we really got from this team.
Thank you, Mohit. That kind of leads into what I want to say about PHILLIP and how he can help people too, because he's the knowledge guy. You know your company, Cameron knows his company, and you're expected to know it from one end to the other. PHILLIP, he's expected to know pretty much a little bit about every company in the region that he supports. And Cameron might be running short of pallets to ship product because his pallet manufacturer had an outbreak of COVID. He can turn to PHILLIP, and PHILLIP could give him the name of 2 or 3 pallet manufacturers that he didn't maybe know existed in the region. And if it's not in this region, PHILLIP can reach out to James Wolfe or one of the other, local business guys throughout the state, and he can find someone that can take care of your shortage or your need. And I think that's a key value that EDP brings to all of our existing business entities, both in this region and throughout the state. I know we're working on 2 or 3 projects right now with existing industries just in Columbus County that are looking to expand, and some of them are pretty innovative. So he's got a fun job. I think everybody that is involved in economic development would tell you we've got one of the best jobs in the world because we help people have jobs and provide for their families, but we get to see a lot of neat stuff and a lot of different companies that are doing different things. And it's just a good place to be, even in this bad time of a pandemic. So I'm wanting to basically go to PHILLIP at this time and say, other than helping businesses through COVID-19, PHILLIP, can you elaborate a little bit and tell us some of the other services that you can provide to existing businesses, kind of leverage off of what I just was talking about?
Yes, certainly can. Thank you, Gary. And actually, MOHIT, I just received a text from Kathy Johnson. She'll have me by the toe if I don't correct it and say that she helped you all find the building from Fayetteville, Cumberland. So I wanted to give Kathy that shout out. She's a great partner in addition to all my other local economic developers. But our mission really is to improve the economic well-being and quality of life for all North Carolinians. And I'm really the boots on the ground component of that for the Sandhills. So really, in addition to ushering in companies for that incentives and grants process, my goal is to sit down with companies and find out, what are their challenges, what are their opportunities for growth, then connect them with a wide variety of resources for them to meet those growth goals. Gary just mentioned the pallets, and that's something I'm finding coming up more and more often is really companies wanting to shorten the supply chain from maybe national to regional or even here in the state of North Carolina. And we're retooling a lot of the databases we have now to help companies identify different vendors and partners that may be within the state right in their backyard that they're not aware of. And we actually do have a number of pallet manufacturers in the region if you're looking for one of those. One of the examples, so a lot of the companies I work with tend to be smaller companies that may not have the bandwidth for some of that core business functions. And for instance, we work with companies that may not have a marketing department because the owners are actually wearing multiple hats and they don't have that expertise. So we would technically refer them to an organization called the Small Business Technology Development Center, who's a very close partner of ours. And they work with colleges and universities, and they may be able to fill some of those gaps with university students in those specific core functions that the businesses may have a gap in operation in. Another example, we have a food packaging company here. They've made the absorbent pads for food packaging and poultry. They wanted to look in some efficiencies for their plant, and efficiencies in production ultimately leads to cost savings. So we would connect them with one of our North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership, one of our partners in NC State, their IES Industry Expansion Solutions, to really come and give a dive into their efficiencies and lean manufacturing. A third example, this leads into a little bit of the grants and incentives, but we had a large paper products manufacturer here in the region who had about a 250,000 square foot building that they needed to renovate in order to add some additional product lines in there. So what we did was we helped them walk through that grants and incentives process, and they were able to secure $500,000 in incentives from the state to renovate that space in order to add jobs and realize that capital investment here. And I certainly don't want anybody to think that we have a silver bullet answer for everything, but at least have that conversation, because the answer is always going to be no if you do not ask. So please reach out. I encourage you to reach out to me, reach out to your local economic developers, because I have a very close relationship with those 10 that I mentioned in those 10 specific counties. And we will come see you, we'll come have a conversation, and we'll find out if there's a resource out there that can help you grow and overachieve those hurdles you might be seeing, whether those resources are private or public.
And again, folks, that number is 986-9310, Philip Shoemaker. Write it down. Now, for Cameron and MOHIT, we know that this pandemic's going to end. We're getting a lot of good news about, some shots that we all get to take here before long. I don't really care much for them, but I'll be in line, I can assure you. In just a few sentences, tell us how you foresee it changing the way you operate your business over the long haul. And let's start with MOHIT this time and then go to Cameron.
So, Gary, I think the first thing is, I don't know what we'll do with all these computers that we have now. So we'll probably not have to buy computers for another 20 years. But yeah, so I think the one area that it did open up for us is, I think we've actually been able to upgrade or innovate our internal infrastructure and technology offering, in the sense that we are now actually able to achieve, if not better, but at least the same productivity and quality of work from our work at home employees. Now, like I said, we've generally been brick and mortar, for information security reasons, and, call centers are high volume, high stress work jobs. They're best done, in the office. And that's the model we always used to work on. But I think we always had a business continuity plan. We always had disaster recovery planning to work from home, but the disaster recovery was never 100% of our staff, which is what this pandemic actually forced us to get into. So I think that's definitely a work stream we've been able to add. Our consulting team has actually developed a great work at home architecture, which we are now proposing to different clients. We've got new product tools, new information security tools that we've built in that we're deploying onto employee computers. And that's kind of really helped us deliver, the same productivity and quality that we would have delivered at home. So that definitely, I think, is a way for us to move forward. We definitely would want to now have hybrid solutions, which are, brick and mortar as well as work at home. So that I think is going to be our way forward from here.
Cameron, how about you all?
Yeah, so I would venture to guess that the majority of our products are sold online, not directly from us, but our customers selling our products online. I think everyone here probably buys from Amazon or has bought from Amazon at some point in their life, or their spouse or their children. It has taught us that the online business is real, and it is a significant portion of how people buy products these days. So what we've seen is that our customers are placing bigger orders, which is great because they need the inventory now to supply. You buy from Amazon, you expect it tomorrow. And it is taught our dealers that they need more inventory so they can supply their customers. The change in supply chain, I would like to think that it is going to help us plan our operation better. We plan out usually a few weeks ahead with what we're going to produce. And I hope that the way things have changed, it will teach us how to plan our production better. Trade shows, we would do 6, 7, 8 trade shows a year domestically here in the States. That has changed. Virtual shows, I don't know if they're going to last. I don't know if a virtual show is the future. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. I like to get out there. I like to go shake a hand, talk to somebody face to face. I think trade shows will make a small comeback next year and in 2022, but they're going to be a lot smaller than they were. Some of the shows we do are 20, 30,000 people. That's probably going to be cut in half or more. People just aren't going to want to go out there, at least not yet. Calling on customers. We travel. I travel sometimes. We have some reps that travel for us, go call on customers, large accounts. That ain't happening right now. A lot of the bigger customers, the Ace Hardwares and the Grangers, they're not taking people, and a lot of those people are working from home. So the way we sell has drastically changed. It's all done, through what we're doing now, Zoom or a phone call or whatever it be. So selling products has changed, and most of the stuff is probably going to be changed for good for the long term.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think some things we will not go backwards on. I recall going to a trade show about 3 years ago with Joe Melvin from the Southeast Partnership, and we saw a little booth with a guy behind it, and it was something called Zoom. And this guy gave us these ice blue socks with snowflakes on them, and on the side of the socks it said, "Zoom, it's cool." And if I had only known to buy stock in Zoom 3 years ago, I would probably already be retired. So, we just keep on going. Following up for Chris this time, from our discussion today, I think it's safe to say that we are all optimistic about our region and about North Carolina's future. Give us a sentence on why we should be optimistic.
Sure. And before I do that, we're also glad you didn't buy those stocks, Gary, because if you buy the Zoom stock, because if you had, you probably wouldn't be here helping us host today's webinar. So we benefited from your decision back then. Yeah, look, I'm optimistic. I'm an economic development professional. I think optimism is a required criteria for being in this line of work. But yeah, I look at this region. I look at the strong foundations for critical activities like manufacturing, which I think are definitely still doing very well, relatively speaking, in spite of the pandemic. You look at the infrastructure in the region, whether that's 95, whether that's 74, whether it's some of the rail and utility infrastructure that crisscrosses the area. You look at some of the workforce resources, like how the community colleges step up and help companies to provide that workforce and to train it. And there's a lot of reason for optimism. I'm also optimistic because when you hear about stories like Cameron's with Counsel Tool or MOHIT's with eClerks, you don't get to be a 135-year-old company if you aren't good at adapting, evolving, and constantly delivering what your customer needs. You don't expand from India into the United States unless you're able to adapt and evolve to the local market conditions. So both of these two companies, the fact that they have staked their futures, continue to stake their futures on this region of North Carolina, I think that's probably one of the biggest causes for why we should all be optimistic about this region. What we want to do, of course, is enable that next phase of growth for the counsel tools and eClerks of the region, which is why we're doing this webinar today, is make companies know that we are here to help them with their growth, which we hope happens right here in North Carolina.
Thank you, Chris. I'm very optimistic from a Columbus County standpoint as well. I'm working with PHILLIP on Project Chill, which will take down an existing building. I'm working with Nate Grover on Project Seal, which I hope to get a document to them tomorrow that'll hopefully get that one over the finish line. I'm working with Austin on Project Lincoln that'll go on the site of our old closed down Georgia Pacific mill site, and there will maybe take down a part of that site. It is so busy, but the support that I get from EDPNC to make these things happen is ultimately going to create jobs. The thing that I need, though, as we have been so successful in working with you guys, that when these all hit, I'm out of buildings. So, where I'm going to need your help in the future is we need to talk to some legislators about, one of these low interest loan programs to create product in some of our rural counties. So just kind of put that on your list of things we can talk about offline here. Okay. Now, John, I appreciate you coming today, and I hope this has helped you to see some of the ways we're working in this region. But tell us a little bit about your some closing thoughts, perspectives, or not necessarily closing, but we're getting close to our time here. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, let you take it home.
Thank you, Gary. And I believe it is my job to wrap it up at this point. I know we're close to time, but I would like to say thank you very much to all my fellow panelists for joining us today. I think this was a really fascinating discussion. I mean, we've seen how even during an international pandemic, we've got businesses who are growing, some who have been with us for a very long time, some who have come to us maybe within the last few years. From my perspective, I go back to my business school roots from time to time to remind myself that when it comes to customer acquisition costs, acquiring a new customer is anywhere from 5 to 25 times more expensive than retaining one. And that's the way we look at existing industry here in the state. We're determined to support every business that's here in the state, those that have grown over 135 years and those who have been here for the last 3 years. I'd also like to say thank you to the audience for joining us today. Hopefully you all have gained some insight on the value of all of our partners and what they provide and what we can do when we work together, from the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina to Columbus County Economic Development Commission to North Carolina Southeast to amazing businesses like Counsel Tool and eClerks. We really thank you for all that you do, because this is, I hear over and over again, when it comes to economic development, it's a team sport. We've all got to work together. And when we do, we can do some amazing things. To close, I'd just like to remind the audience that EDPNC serves North Carolina businesses across the spectrum, all sizes, all industries, all needs, in all 100 counties. As Philip mentioned, every day brings us new challenges through the businesses that we serve, and we take it as our responsibility to get businesses the answers that they need. Whether that be, how do I get myself to essential industry, or how do I find the qualified workforce? We can help businesses find new opportunities, navigate challenging circumstances. There's a variety of different things that we can do. And here on the screen, you'll see a list of some of the services that we provide at no cost. And maybe as a call to action for today's call, I recommend that everybody get to know Philip, our regional manager here in South Central North Carolina, and I think you'll be very glad that you did. So with that, I'll just say thank you again for joining us, and have a great day.